Good afternoon, everyone. It's time to get started. And welcome to the class of the Promoting Sustainable Development and Prosperity for All. Today, it is my honor and privilege to have Secretary General Mr. An Ki-moon as a special lecturer for this class. I don't think I have to introduce him to you. I just want to save time. Okay, before we are going to have a lecture, I'm going to invite the President of Handong Global University, Dr. Chang Sung-woo. He will deliver the welcoming remark to you. Let's welcome him with a round of applause.
안녕하세요, 우리 반기문 총장님. 반갑습니다. Good afternoon, everyone. It's nice to have the world's eminent expert for the distinguished lecture of the Holistic Global Citizenship Program of the Kim Young-il's Grade School. I extend my sincere gratitude to Dr. Ban Ki-moon as our lecturer for COVID-19, its implication for world peace and development. Our distinguished lecturer for today at the grade school is Dr. Ban Ki-moon, the 8th UN Secretary. I would like to recognize his three great contributions in this world and also in Korea, for also Handong University. Under his leadership in 2015, country adopted a Sustainable Development Goal, SDG, to ensure prosperity for all. Dr. Ban Ki-moon also led the effort for the Paris Climate Agreement, which made the collective effort of the country toward the limit global temperature rise to prevent climate change. He also launched UN Academic Impact for the education initiative and emphasized the importance of global citizenship education. As you know, Handong Global University has been leading the global citizenship education and fostering global leaders since its foundation. In 2007, Handong Global University was designated as Korea's first UNESCO Unity University and has provided quality education to officials, professors, university students, and entrepreneurs in the developing country. Its achievements have been recognized globally. In 2011, Handong Global University has been also designated as one of the global hub universities of the UN Academic Impact for promoting the capacity building. In order to continuously foster global citizenship education, Handong Global University officially opened the Ban Ki-moon Institute of Global Education, IG, in 2019, and the Kim Young-il Grade School in 2020 for the global citizenship education. This is the world's first institution to provide a holistic global citizenship education. The grade school embarked on the previous educational experiment of the Handong Global University to pioneer the holistic global citizenship education by providing HUMAN curriculum. The lecture of today is for the last lecture of the Kim Young-il Grade School's series of the special lecture. The topic is the COVID-19, and very hot topic now today. And cooperation and collaboration is required in order to provide the prosperity for all. You cannot overcome the difficulty of this world today without working together. Particularly in the current era of the pandemic, global citizenship is required more than ever in order to bring peace and development. Hopefully, today's lecture will give the student insight into how to view the pandemic and the role of the global citizenship and collaborate with the other stakeholders and build a more inclusive society for the sustainable futures. In addition, I hope the meaningful lecture will be the opportunity for students to gain the strength in their mindset, value, and attitude to transform the world together. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Mr. President. And today we are going to have a lecture. The title of COVID-19, its implication for world peace and development. Please welcome Mr. Ban Ki-moon, the Secretary General of United Nations.
Thank you, President Chang Sun-hong, for your warm introduction and also inviting me to speak to the students at the Ban Ki-moon Institute for Global Education at the Handong Global University. It's a great honor for me. I hope I could be able to meet you in person, but you will all understand that we are all completely locked down, and we are strongly advised not to travel as we want. Dear students, dear faculty members, it's a great honor for me to be with you, and particularly speaking at the BKM Institute for Global Education, where I was attending at the time of inauguration. I'm still thinking with a deep admiration the contribution and the passion, academic passion of the late President Kim Young-gil, who together with the President Chang Sun-hong had been working very passionately, strongly to realize academic impact initiative. And I believe that you are a good beneficiaries of such a good United Nations academic impact initiative. Dear students, I feel fortunate, despite all these lockdowns, to have the opportunity to deliver today's timely lecture on COVID-19, its implications for global security and development. Over the next 35 minutes, I will first give you an overview of where we currently stand with the COVID-19 crisis. And secondly, I'll talk about COVID-19's implications on peace and security around the world. And thirdly, I'll try to highlight the challenges and opportunities the COVID-19 has brought to the global development landscape, including international efforts to achieve the United Nations Sustainable Development Goals, SDGs. Last but not least, I greatly look forward to our usual exchange of conversations. If you have any questions or any better ideas how we can cope with this current situation, I think your ideas as a young person will be much, much more appreciated. In any way, dear students, ladies and gentlemen, I would like to begin by providing you with a bit of an overview on the wide-ranging global disruptions and impacts of the COVID-19 pandemic. We are currently living through a once-in-a-lifetime global pandemic, global crisis that has upended our daily lives, health systems, our economies, interpersonal relations, and societies as a whole. There is nobody who is exempt from this virus attack, including the President of the United States, the most powerful country and resources. When I was a young boy, as you may know, I was born during the Japanese colonial rule And then when I became just 6 years old, the Korean War broke out in 1950. Then people, historically speaking, during last maybe 5,000 year recorded history of human being, Second World War is regarded most brutal, a tragic war the humanity has ever experienced. And Korean War is one of many, at least it belongs at least 30, the biggest, most tragic wars in human history. Then even during that time, I didn't skip any year in my elementary school days. I just went to school and studied. It's not like, it was not locked down. Nobody was locked down. That is quite, comparable if you compare with what you are now doing. We are living in a much more fearful situation than even during the wartime. That is the essence of the problems, why we have to handle this COVID-19 issues really wisely and with a concerted effort. COVID-19 has caused immense suffering, dramatically restructured our lives, and brought even more uncertainty into already uncertain world. In just 8 months since February this year, the virus has traveled to reach every corner of the world. There is not a single towns where corona has not attacked. Today, as of today, this morning, there are over 30 million people confirmed cases of corona, and more than 1 million people have died. For example, the United States, the richest country, has more than 8 million confirmed cases, including President Trump. India, 7 million. Brazil, 5 million. Only 3 countries included more than 20 million people. That is more than 51% of total. Countries have been locked down, borders have been closed, and entire industries have come to a screeching halt. While many countries that were hit early in the virus re-emerged from painful lockdowns and reopened their economies, they are now being hindered by second waves. Korea was hit by second waves. We are still in this second waves. This is a result of a lack of national strategies, insufficient testing, face mask non-compliance, many world leaders who are not wearing masks. Interestingly, each of the populist right political leaders of these countries, like President Trump, President Bolsonaro of Brazil, Prime Minister Boris Johnson, have all tested positive themselves. The leaders, they have been contracted by this virus. The United States, with just 4% of global population, now accounts more than 20% of the confirmed cases as well as death issues. Conversely, countries such as New Zealand, Germany, Taiwan, Denmark, and Iceland have all led successful pandemic responses during the crisis. I'll ask you a simple question. Does any one of you know, among students, that how and what all of these countries have in common? all these 5 countries, do you know any commonalities of these 5 countries, New Zealand, Denmark, and all this, where there is much less cases? Interestingly, New Zealand, Germany, Taiwan, Denmark, and Iceland, they are all women leaders, as you know. Isn't it quite interesting? I see many more women students, female students now listening to my lecture. They have, I think, a combination of trust, empathy, and innovation, and compassion than male leaders, where most number of cases are happening now. This is a notable contrast from the pandemic responses of the leaders of the United States, Brazil, India, Russia, and United Kingdom. They have a so-called strongman leadership, strongman. But of course, you cannot just make it a common case. So we cannot do that. But at least we can find some commonality among what is happening. I feel that there are important lessons here, and one of them is that we simply must continue to scale up the empowerment and equality of all women everywhere to help lead our future. That's what I have focused on while working as a Secretary General of the United Nations. Now, we have at least more than 20 women leaders and leaders of 30th, in their 30s. So you should have a much stronger and brighter future. At this moment, while some countries are doing well, but they are mostly hitting developing countries such as India, South Africa, quite hard. COVID-19 further spread into poorer countries will continue to have a major ramifications for the developing world, as well as most vulnerable countries. I'm particularly concerned about those in conflict situations, the countries who are fighting or who have political conflicts, each and among and between. Sadly, the pandemic has also unleashed a torrent of racism, xenophobia, hate crimes, conspiracy theories, and disinformation, sort of fake news. And this is sadly occurring at a critical time when we need all global citizens to join together in unity and solidarity to defeat a common enemy. In order to respond to the unprecedented threats of this magnitude, we must understand that pandemics are inherently global issues. This requires global solutions. However, a country may be powerful and resourceful, like the United States, European Union, but one cannot do it alone unless we unite together. That's what is multilateralism is extremely important at this time. Now, like our worsening climate crisis, they require, again, strong multilateral response underpinned with solidarity. Now we are suffering both because of coronavirus and the climate phenomena. Cooperation, partnership, and global governance, including the strong leadership of the United Nations and WHO at this time, is needed in our fight against COVID-19. And this is also required to combat the ongoing secondary economic, societal, peace and security aftershocks. To persevere over this virus, the governments need to institute sound health and economic policies, and particularly scale up public health spending and preparedness. They must share best practices and lessons learned, not only within Korea, but globally. Of course, our experiences, our practices are now being learned by many countries. Korea is well known for its very effective and successful preventive measures on these issues. Now, they should do also more to instill a greater public trust and think about innovative ways to communicate critical messaging to their constituents, to their citizens. They should safely keep supply chains and borders open for the essential movement of goods and essential workers. They need to collaborate on scientific and research development towards a vaccine and not resort to vaccine nationalism. Now, there is a serious concern when the vaccines are developed, then whatever amount it may be expected to be produced, those are already sold in advance. The United States, European Union, and even Korea, they have already paid in advance. So if there are 2 billion vaccines available next January or February, then that's all gone in one day. Then what will happen to poor countries? So this is so-called vaccine nationalism should be defeated. Now, when I was the Secretary General in 2009, there was another serious influenza called H1N1. H1N1. There was an issue of vaccines. Then I flew to WHO headquarters myself, and together with the Director General, Margaret Chan, at the time Chinese lady was head of WHO, Margaret Chan and I convened a meeting inviting at least 30, the highest and biggest pharmaceutical companies, the CEOs from Korea. The vice president of Noksipja came. And I urged them, please make vaccine as soon as possible and do not forget about African countries. And they donated at least 200 million vaccines for African countries. So they were earmarked already before they would be sold. This kind of leadership and initiative should be very much important at this time. Now, we must also remember that in our globalized world, we are only as strong as the weakest public health link. That is what I'm now emphasizing, because virus does not respect the borders, does not respect any ethnicity. Unfortunately, it is also compounding peace and security risk around the world in various ways. Dear students, now let us discuss about the COVID-19's implications on global peace and security, including that of Korea. The pandemic's implications of international peace and security are both varied and notable. These are related to great power conflict, great power rivalries, like we see US and China. And also there are existing conflicts and violence in the Middle East and Yemen and Syria, etc., etc. So it should be discussed within the framework of multilateralism represented by the United Nations. I believe we have witnessed a major failure in global leadership in responding to COVID-19 because the multilateralism is now in disarray. Multilateralism is under attack, under threat by those countries who have initiated multilateralism. It was the United States and European countries who founded the United Nations. Now they are withdrawing from multilateralism. Leadership at the global level is now sorely lacking, as nationalism has been the default configuration and the greater power politics have largely supplanted multilateral cooperation. That's sad. As a former Secretary General, there was not such phenomena happening during my time. Soon after I left, soon after President Trump of the United States took power, then we are now seeing this very unfortunate global phenomena. The United States and China are currently engaged in a detrimental blame game about the sources of coronavirus. It's not the time to talk about the origins of whoever made these origins of corona. It's time to fight back. Not only fight back better, to build a better and greener our society. That is the point and focus we have to do, rather than fighting and blaming games. This is what I am very much regretting. US-China flashpoints, such as South China Sea, are seeing tensions expand. There is a possibility, if there is a miscalculation, who knows what kind of a serious global war can happen again. At the same time, the Security Council is again divided. The Security Council has not been able to take action or even taking a simple resolution. During the time when I was a Secretary General, there was another very serious Ebola crisis happened. In 2014, Korean people may not understand what Ebola was. It happened mostly Africa. During that time, upon my recommendation, the Security Council took decision on the very day. It didn't take even a single day, determining that Ebola virus was a serious threat to international peace and security. Now what happened? My successor, Antonio Guterres, now current Secretary General, as soon as this coronavirus erupted, he reported to the Security Council and he recommended that there should be a global ceasefire between and among countries in conflict. This took almost 3 months. 3 months. Because of the division of the Security Council, they were not able to agree on just a single resolution. This is the world where we are living in. This is the world where you are living in. This is something which I regretted very much. There is global leadership is sorely lacking, disappeared. Now this exacerbated humanitarian sufferings in places such as Yemen, Syria, Gaza, Iraq, and the most poorest countries. Impact of COVID-19, of conflict-affected settings has been significant. This is true not only in terms of immediate health and humanitarian ramifications, but also in the areas of social cohesion, governance, and the rule of law. And this continues to jeopardize ongoing international efforts to sustain peace and may even cause a reversal in hard-won peace and security gains. In recent years, in Syria and Yemen, we have seen hospitals bombed over and over again. If and when hospitals are bombed, where these people wounded would go, where these sick people would go. Unfortunately, we are still in the early stages of this pandemic, and the peace and security implications it may have are still yet to be fully made clear. And beyond the direct health and security effects of COVID-19, the socio-economic impact will be both long-lasting and severe, with ripple effects of many fragile and conflicted states. As the COVID-19 pandemic continues, it is also important to understand the interconnection between peace and security and sustainable development. Now, simply put, these three are tightly interconnected: peace, development, and human rights, or humanitarian. If there is no peace and security, nobody can work. Human rights are threatened. Conversely, if economic situation is very poor, then there is apt to be an eruption of a conflict. Because there's a limited resources, then the people fight. Then human rights, humanitarian, you cannot talk about this. So these three should go hand in hand, all together: peace, development, and human rights. Now let us then try to learn how COVID-19 affects on this all global development. You may notice that I'm wearing a small badge. Does anyone know what this is about among the students? Maybe it may be too small, but this is the badge of Sustainable Development Goals, SDGs. It has 17 colors, different colors, depicting, symbolizing each and every 17 goals, which was adopted by the United Nations during my time. This is the global vision. Even though it was adopted during my time, it is in the hands of the world's people. It is in the hands of the world's government. This must be implemented. This includes climate change agreement. Paris Climate Change Agreement is one of these 17 goals. Now, we must do all for our better future. The United Nations has presented very good proposals and visions in 2000 called the Millennium Development Goals, with 8 goals at the time. And then 15 years passed. During those 15 years, the world was able to reduce the number of people living in abject poverty, absolute poverty, like $1.90. That should be for one day. So just the 2001, a little over 2001, you should have a breakfast, lunch, and dinner. You should have water. You should have energy. Can you do that? This is what we call, under UN terms, abject poverty, absolute poverty. $1.90. This is a World Bank has decided. We really try to cut in half. By 2030, if this program is successful, then there should be nobody who should die from poverty and hunger. And there should be no children who should be out of school, at least middle school, at least quality education, middle school. There should be no babies under 5 who should die within 5 years after their birth. This is infant death, infant mortality. There should be no such unfortunate child or children who should die. And by 2030, there should be absolute empowerment and equality between men and women. Men and women. These are very ambitious goals. There are some questions, people, some scholars, even economists. Well, Mr. Van, can you make sure that by 2030 there will be no poor people? Such abject poverty. There will be many poor people, but what I mean is that who should live with just less than $2 a day? There may be. We may not be able to realize that kind of world, but we have to work. We still have 10 years. Countries like Korea, I should do much more. Provide humanitarian assistance to the poor people. At this time, because of COVID-19, there are 270 million people who are suffering from daily food. This is what World Food Program has been warning to the world. As you know, just 2 days ago, World Food Program was announced to be the recipient of the Nobel Peace Prize this year. I met the representative of World Food Program in Korea this morning before I came to see you. And I sent my congratulations in my letter of congratulations to the World Food Program. And as a former Secretary General of the United Nations, I'm very happy to see that one of the UN agencies is now the recipient of Nobel Peace Prize. Now, as I said, under this troubling backdrop of this current global development landscape, it's not enough to simply build back. We must build back better. It's not just to build back better, build back greener. This is what we have to work. Now then, aligning COVID-19 recoveries to the United Nations, this SDG is simply imperative in this connection. Indeed, SDGs offer us a viable blueprint. It is the most ambitious vision, and it is most far-reaching roadmap the United Nations has ever presented to the world's people, particularly young people like you. About this, relating to this pandemic, this is related to SDG goal number 3. Goal 3. I will read it. This will ensure healthy lives and promote well-being for all at all ages. There should be no discrimination. Everybody at all ages, this can serve as a preliminary roadmap to do so. And this SDG gives us a viable plan to achieve sustainable development, build back better, and also greener. In order to meet the SDGs, noble aspirations, there should be cooperation, innovation, engagement by all stakeholders, multi-stakeholder partnership. That means a global partnership. Without partnership, you cannot do it alone. Again, it's not only the government. Government should work closely with the business community. Then government, business community should work together with civil society. You belong to civil society now. You are not in the government, you are not in the business, you are citizens. So all this tripartite partnership should be strongly established. When I say about partnership, this is goal 17. Academic institutions can also play a very important role. It's not only business. Academic institutions, through UN academic impact, you are supposed to receive high quality education. You can be anything after your graduation in your society, in your future. So this multi-stakeholder partnership that mobilize and share knowledge, expertise, technology, and financial resources to support the achievement of SDGs. So we need, I repeat, we need the government, private sectors, business, and civil society, including academic institutions like Handong Global University, should work together. In this connection, I'm pleased to see that the Ban Ki-moon Institute for Global Education at the Handong Global University fits seamlessly, fits correctly into this paradigm. So you should be very proud that you are studying in one of the global educational institutes in Handong University. Indeed, as a new educational initiative of globally responsible and advanced citizenship education, GRACE, G-R-A-C-E, for sustainable peace and prosperity, you have synergized important partnership with the United Nations, global universities, and other key stakeholders to help achieve SDG 4. That's a quality education and beyond. I'm incredibly honored that my name, Ban Ki-moon, is now attached to this forward-thinking global institute at such a prestigious university like Handong Global University. The work you are undertaking is essential to international efforts to achieve the SDGs before their 2030 target. We have only 10 years to go. Then how much and how well Korea has been doing? I'll give you some statistics which was released last year by a German institute, and this called Bertelsmann Foundation, Bertelsmann Stiftung. If you need any know in German, Bertelsmann Stiftung, if you can check Google's, then this has a surveyed achievement record of United Nations member state of SDGs. They found only 20 countries were doing well. Of course, some other countries below 20, they are also doing well, but best performing 20 countries are mostly European countries, 16 Europeans, just 4 non-European countries. The 4 non-European countries include Canada, New Zealand, Japan, and Korea, Republic of Korea. I was happy and relieved that Korea belongs at least to one of the 20 best performing countries in Sustainable Development Goals. You should be proud, but my ambition is that we should belong within 10 instead of all letting it to the hands of European people. Why not? Why not? I think you should also claim to the government and your society. Now, dear student, let me, I have taken quite enough time. Let me conclude my remarks. I strongly believe that achieving the UN's SDGs and fighting climate change are two efforts that simply must unite and must be implemented as quickly as possible before my generation or even your generation may regret for your succeeding generation. Quite plainly, our collective existence moving forward depends on it. Now, if I may conclude again, during my lecture today, I first gave you the overview of the COVID-19 pandemic and where we currently stand. Secondly, we examined the COVID-19's far-reaching implications for global peace, development, and security. Thirdly, we then discussed the global development landscape, United Nations SDGs, how it should be implemented. Then fourthly, I hope that today's lecture will help you think more critically. It's very important for you to have critical mind. As a young student, if you just accept as everything as it stands, then you will have no chance of success. Try to be critical. Why it happens like this way? How can I do better? This is sort of critical mind. If you don't exercise your critical mind, then you will not make, you're just like a recorder. You learn and repeat. This doesn't help anybody. Of course, you should learn how to interpret what you learned from your textbook, from the professors. Then how can be usefully benefiting some other countries for our world? That is more important than you learn from your textbook. This is what I'm just telling you to have a more critical mind. So I've been, as a Secretary General, as a former foreign minister, and the public officials, I have been speaking to our young generation people that have a critical mind and try to change what you do. By doing that, you can make progress. Well, this is something which I really wanted to share with you, but because of limited time, I would have another opportunity. But I'll be more than happy if you have any comments or any questions. Thank you very much for your attention. Thank you.
The first question from the student is about the environment issue. And due to COVID-19, the rate of fine dust has been decreased. How can we continue this good phenomenon of new normal era after COVID-19 is over? We know that you are right now working for the environment issue too. So we are wondering what kind of a relationship with the COVID and the environment, including this fine dust.
Now, this is a very important subject. In fact, it involves a huge, wide aspect of climate relationship and climate and environment and disease control. Disease control may be just a phenomenon which may be eradicated soon if we exert all our efforts, vaccines and whatever. But climate and environment as a whole, I think this is very difficult and challenging issues. Now, all the experts, scientists, medical experts, they have determined that the coronavirus has happened because of the degradation of the ecosystems. This is in large environmental issues. We have neglected and we have abused the privileges that nature has given us. And therefore, the best way and permanently addressing and saving human lives from unnecessary death caused by pandemic, whatever pandemic may be, then we should change our pattern of lifestyle. That means we have to invest much more on environment, make environment sustainable, clean air, and all clean ecosystems, so that there will be less opportunities that these animals may have to be coming to human society. So this is something, broadly speaking, but there may be many ways. There are many ways how to address the climate and how to make our environment clean and sustainable for our human lives. So I hope a young generation will pay more attention on this issue. That's more important, yeah.
Thank you, sir. Also, many students raise same questions about the growing intensity between the United States and China and great powers. So they are wondering, is there a system that is placed to ensure that wealthy countries do not monopolize the vaccine and for the vaccine to be distributed equally throughout the countries? And you mentioned that, is there any way for the just?
Yeah, as you said, I had already mentioned about the so-called vaccine nationalism. According to reports, there's at least 2 billion vaccines have been all reserved for United States, Europe, and Korea or Japan, China. These are rich countries, so they can buy in advance. They have already paid money. Then there is no chance for poor countries urgently die, who may die immediately. And then there is no vaccine. That is injustice, which I term it injustice. So we should make a more fair and a world of justice where those vulnerable people should be taken care of, so that they should also be able to have equal access to medical service. Now, the recent report, the President Trump said, I got the world's top best medical support. That's why I came out of hospital in just 3 days. You need to be quarantined, self-quarantined at least 14 days. And there is no guarantee that how soon you can be recuperated, you can be cured from this virus. But he has taken all possible medical support. So this is again unfair. How many people can have that kind of a support in this world? We are talking about the common people, commoners. This is what I hope United Nations and WHO and major countries should have devised some good systems, fair and good acceptable systems. This is what I am speaking out as a former Secretary General. Now, about this China and the US, this is really unnecessary, very dangerous, very unfortunate, irresponsible. on the part of these two countries. It's not the time to quarrel or to dispute over who was the origin. Suppose admitting that, okay, China was the origin, then why after 8 months should we dwell on that kind of issue? When there is a fire, you can find out the cause of the fire. First, put off fire. That is the first thing firemen should do, or neighbors should do. But instead of putting fire, if you just want to investigate what had happened, who ignited this fire, then it will take, you need to mobilize all scientific and evidence-oriented technologies. So I'm just urging the global leaders just to put aside all these political issues and focus on saving lives. But that should be the one. But unfortunately, Security Council of the United Nations, political leaders, for their own political games, they are arguing each other. That's what I have termed it, the multilateralism is under threat or under attack. This is an attack against humanity.
Okay, thank you, sir. And another question is about the critical mind. You already mentioned that. The student asked that what is the way to have a more critical mind from a student's point of view? You mentioned that we can develop a critical mind through a textbook and professor, and I'm curious about how we can actively strive to develop a critical mind as a student.
Well, there may be many different ways for students, each and every student, to really cultivate a critical mind. First of all, one needs to have a sense of global citizenship. Global citizenship. You belong to Korea. Mostly you are Korean students, but there are many foreign students here. My argument, my advice to you is that forget about your nationalities. You may be Korean, American, Japanese, or wherever you might have come from, but just to think about our global world with the transformative development of science, technology, communication, transportation, then we are living effectively in a very small world. However long it may take, there is no place in this world where you cannot reach by airplane within 24 hours. You can be there. Whatever we discuss now, within a fraction of a second, it's gone already to the students in the United States and Africa. So we are just one people. We are living in one nation, one people, one world. That is a global citizenship. So just to think that I'm a global citizen. I do what is good for our common world and common future. Then you cannot but broaden your vision. Your vision. You should have a broader vision. Just don't think about your family, your brothers and sisters, or your parents, or your school. Even don't think about Korea. Think about the world. Then you will gradually think about, why is this so? Why people are not doing this way? What is the best way to work for the world's people? What is the best way we can live together? We can live together with my neighbors, with my neighboring countries, with those people who need the support. This is what global citizens should have. Global citizens should be more tolerant, understanding, and also has a compassion. Each and every one, you have a passion. I'll do this. I can become this one. This is a passion. But only passion, with only passion, you cannot do anything. This passion must be united with compassion. Thinking about other people before you think yourself, about yourself. Because he or she is the same my brother, my sister. Because they are same citizen, like Koreans. That unfortunately, most people have a myopic vision. Just look in front of you. Then you can never become global citizen. So that is one of the critical minds. Why should I think about global? That is one of the critical mind. That's what I'm advising you to young students, to be broader mind, broader vision, and work for the broader goals for the future. Thank you.